let's begin. I'm gonna share my screen. Alright, so I did have just one person email me their questions so far. If you want to ask me anything, you can just hover on your screen and click on the chat bubble on top to see the chat, and then we can go through all the questions you might have. In the meantime, I will be answering Thor's question. I'm not sure if he's here yet. If you want to edit your name, you can also click on the participants little bubble over there and click your own viewer name and change your name if you want. It can be easier to refer to people. For me. And in the meantime, the chat box is right there. Again, I'll copy paste how to connect to audio for people who just joined. Alright, so I'll be starting with Thor's questions, whether he's here or not. I'm recording this webinar so I can send him the link later of the video. So Thor says he wants to build a career service database, and he wants to learn more about linking their database to their existing WordPress website. So that's the first question, and yes, you can link your database to your website. We do have a feature called Web Embed, where you essentially embed your database, whether you want your external users to see it or make it public, like a product catalog. So I'm not quite sure what you would need to do a courier service, but according to your own requirements, then you can actually have, I guess, your services, the services you offer listed, or maybe it's a tracking system that you want to display showing what is where a packaging is. I'll also copy paste the audio information right again. There you go. And yeah, so I can go through embedding if you want after we have created a sheet or two, and that can be covered. We also do have a WordPress plugin, so if you're using WordPress on not the blog type but the actual WordPress website type, you can use our plugin to actually use Ragic within that. And yeah, there are other different embedding types that show a basic HTML form or list of your data that you can use. Well, we do have prototypes over on here under Web Embed. So this is our user guide. You can actually find this user guide through Learn Ragic and then user guide over here. That's my user guide page. The embedding types are all here under embedding on your website. So the WordPress plugin link shows up over here, the shortcode, but you'll need the plugin for that. Well, this is a screen that shows up in the embedding process, and there are a few different types of web embed that you can choose, called the viewer, the query, the form, and whatnot. So you can experiment with what you want, and we can try that right after we create a sheet. And let's see the rest of the questions. In Light, can your staff have separate usernames and passwords? Yes, of course, there will be different users. So essentially, you can add your staff members as new users to your database by clicking on here, Start, Account Setup, and then that will take you to the user page I was just on. So I am currently the only user on this database account because I opened the account, and I'm the system administrator as well, which means that I can actually change the design of my sheets, add new users, and access the account setup over here. Your other users, if they're not a system administrator, they won't be able to see this tab at all. So they won't be able to have any effect on your account settings or anything unless you give them the right to. And yes, for a light user, a light account user, you can just add new users as you see fit. If you're using a trial, then they will be free, but after you subscribe, then all users are $5 per month. And that's how the pricing is calculated for light, if you're wondering about that. And yeah, when you add someone as a user, you essentially add their email addresses as the user. The username doesn't really matter, but the email you cannot change afterwards. So when you add them as an email address, you won't be able to set their password. They'll get an email saying, oh, your system administrator, whatever your name is, has added you to a Ragic account, and they will receive this email and they'll be able to set their own password by following the steps over there. And well, that's all there is to it, and they'll be able to see the sheets that you have given them access to. So by the way, for any of the people who have just logged in, I'm copying the audio connection information again because it's not very clear on join.me. And if you have any questions, please ask me questions. Just click on the chat bubble on top. When you hover on your screen, you'll see it right next to the users icon. It's the second one on the left, and please ask me any questions during the webinar related or unrelated to whatever I'm talking about at the time, and I'll be glad to return back and answer everything. This office hours webinar is basically focusing on user questions and will go by examples. And while waiting for your questions, I'm gonna be continuing answering the rest questions over here. So number 3, can Ragic calculate the amount since I have to generate my monthly invoice based on the data feeded on your database? Yes, so Ragic has capabilities on creating formulas. I'll show that in a bit. Haha, John Sargent, hi. I'll answer you in a bit. Alright, so in Ragic, when you create a sheet, you will have the ability to apply formulas on that. So you're saying invoice, and I'm just gonna create a sheet that is based on a product's order sheet, or services. Okay, let's make a services sheet, like a courier service, and add an invoice and see how we do the calculations. Alright, so I'm creating a new sheet. This plus is where you can create a new tab or sheet, and here I don't have any tabs because this is quite a new account. So I'm clicking plus and saying sales maybe. Okay, that seems appropriate, and save that. And under here I'll create a services sheet that is going to be really simple. It's just going to have my service name, description, and price, I guess. Okay, so you have noticed that this shows kind of a spreadsheet-like interface once I created my sheet. So a sheet in your Ragic is essentially what collects your data, and here it has thrown us to the form page. A form page is where you're going to have all your fields that you want to keep track of. So the one right now for me would be service ID. So why have I created an ID number? This is very important when you're designing a database because my service names could be very close to each other, or it can have maybe a service number that you're using currently, or a barcode number. Essentially, this is to identify one service from another. So this is a good way of keeping your data, to have an ID number that is unique to that one service. This is also for products. For people, I see this a lot. So if I have 2 customers named John Smith, then how am I gonna tell one John Smith from the other? A lot of companies use the phone number, which is fine, although the phone number, if it's still a landline, then it means, or an office, it means that you can have 2 customers with the same phone number. So it's a safe bet to go with an auto-generated number. So I'm going to create a field that's an auto-generated number by Ragic. If you have your own numbers, you can just plug them in, that would be fine. For me, since this is a new database, I'm just gonna write an S here, and it will go S1, S2 for all my services. I hope that's clear. If I'm going too fast, please let me know. Service name and description maybe, and price. So you can see that when I wrote price here, Ragic has automatically changed this into the money field type. It kind of knows what you're typing in on the field name, and this is what I wanted. But if you're not really thinking that it should be a money field, then you can change it to something else. Alright, so I'm gonna save this form and go back, and now this is showing an empty form for me. I'll just add a couple new services that I have for a career service. Let's see, so letter, regular, letter, mail, 5 to 10 business days. I don't know if that's awfully slow. And what else? Okay, that's enough of a description. So that's 30 cents, let's say. And if I save, you can see that the price is formatting according to what I had in my design. So what does that mean? Let's go back to the design mode over here. So I am hovering on the purple button on the upper right. If you can see my cursor, I know it's a little bit small. Should I zoom in? I should zoom in. Let's zoom in a little bit. Come on, Chrome. Okay, I hope that's better. Yeah, okay. I'm clicking the change design button, and the price, I want actually the Ragic to show me decimal points that are actually 0. So I'm gonna change these pound signs or hash. I'm not sure how they're called in financial terms, but I'll change them to 4 zeros. So if I have a number like 30 cents, it will actually show 30. Well, that's not really a good way, so I'll just leave 2 decimal points and it will show me 30 cents. I mean, if you do your finances differently, then you're welcome to change that formatting as well. So and for the rest of the decimal points, it's gonna round them up, so make sure that you have the correct amount of decimal points you have. Alright, I'll add another service as well. Small package, regular delivery, no tracking number, and this is like, let's say $3.5. As you can see, it added the 0, 350. Alright, let's go back, and when I clicked back to listing over there, you can notice that now it shows all my entries in a spreadsheet-like interface. So this is what we call the listing page. You might have seen that in our document somewhere, and well, we call it the listing page because it lists all your data in one page. And when you click new, it's gonna take you again to that form page, to that empty form page, which you can populate with whatever you need. Alright, so moving on, we will need a invoice sheet, you said. So invoices. I'm not gonna add the customer details because it's gonna take some time for that, but I'm gonna do a similar thing that we did just now. So I'm going to create an auto-generated invoice field with the prefix. So you can see that I have some formatting options here that are pre-formatted. So the quote, I'm just gonna change into invoice, and you can see from the example that it will show the year, month, date, and then generate a number accordingly. So I think this one is appropriate for an invoice number. Okay, And next I will add a first name, last name for the customer. This part is not really going to be that important for me. For now, maybe add a company name. We could do a linking to link these from a customer sheet later if you want, but this is the basics right now. And through sheet linking tools, I'm going to link to the products, the services sheet I just did. So I'm going to save this first and go to sheet linking tools and link and load. Now the reason I want to link and load is because I would like to click on the service ID that I just had and make the service name and description and price fill in automatically from my database sheet. So this is what I did. I clicked on the right side, the service ID, and when I click on where my invoice sheet is, let me zoom out of this actually. Okay, so it has, oh actually let me just load that again. There you go. This looks better. So service ID, I created the same service ID field here, and disregarding the empty space over on next to service ID where I would normally have my service ID number, I'm going to put the service name right next to it. The reason for this is because I might have several services in one invoice, so I'm just gonna put them side by side. And as you can see, the white spaces have shifted down, and this is called a subtable, which collects several of the information you were going to show in a database sheet. Alright, so all of those are linked, and this works by, let's add an invoice now. Let's say I'm asking for some courier services and I'm sending a bunch of things. So as you can see, when I click on the arrow over here, or if I had typed in, doesn't matter, like if I type in S, it's gonna show me the options under there, but I don't need that right now. I can just click here and select from the services that are listed over here. That comes for your services sheet. Alright, I'm gonna save this. And regarding formulas, now for an invoice I will need the quantity, so I might be sending several letters and several small packages in one go, and I will need the quantity. I would also need the quantity times price on my subtable over here that shows me all line items. So how much do the letters cost, how much do the small packages cost in this one invoice, and also the total. So I'm going to add those fields next to here, quantity, and that's a numeric field, that's right. The price should be a money field. Oh, I can't really change that because it's linked from somewhere else. That used to be changeable. I'll ask our developers about it. So amount is also supposed to be a money field, and we'll get the total over here with a money field. Alright, so far so good. Now I'm going to add the formulas on top of this. So the quantity is going to be something that I'm inputting. These fields are coming from my services sheet, and the amount should be price times quantity. So in Ragic, when you're creating formulas, you should note that the formula always refers to the field header. So I should refer to D7 over here and E7. So the amount F7 is going to calculate D7 times E7, and let's save that first. And the total is also going to calculate my amount, so it's going to be F7. Notice that I'm not writing an equals on top because this is already specified as a formula, so it's very different from your spreadsheet. And you also have to remember to refer to field headers instead of values like here, because these are going to expand as you add more services underneath. And well, anything else about that? I don't think so. But if you have any questions, please feel welcome to let me know. Alright, so now that I'm editing my previous invoice, let's say I was sending 50 letters. So you can see that the calculation is being done. It's calculating 50 times 0.3, $15 over here, and writing it into the total. For my small packages, let's say I was adding 20 small packages, and the total is 70 plus 15. Alright, save. And there you go. That's how you do calculations in Ragic in a nutshell. We do have a lot of formulas you can use, and they're also in the user guide. So again, the user guide can be found. Hover on your name. I have a lot of accounts, so they're showing up under here, but ignore that. Sorry, wrong place. Hover on Learn Ragic next to your name, and it's the second over here, the user guide. And again, if you click on the user guide, you'll see at 1.8 the formulas. So if you skip to the list of supported formulas section, you'll see a bunch of formulas that you can use, and they all have a little explanation. But if you are looking for a specific formula and can't find it in Ragic, just let me know or email support and we will have a look to see if there's a workaround or if we can implement it. Alright, any questions so far from anyone? Alright, if you have any questions, please click on the chat button. When you hover on the screen, it should be on the top and you can ask anything. I'll continue to answer the questions as they come. Alright, so can we build additionals, rate lookup forms which can be checked by my staff and agents? I think this means if you want to kind of check the totals of your sales or invoices after a period of time, right, or in a specific time, that's also possible. So you'll notice that whenever you create a sheet, there is this thing on the left which we call the left side search bar tool, I think, left side search tool. Here you can filter by filter all your entries by these fields. So each field. Oh, the question asker is actually here. So this is for my staff to check the price list, he's saying. Well, I'll finish talking about this and then we'll get back to you. Alright, so you can filter by the create date for a certain period of time. You can also like say this week, next week, and whatnot, and then display all the totals, and you can actually generate a report from that. So if I click dashboard report over there, you can see that this is the totals and whatnot. Okay, you're saying that your staff wants to check the price list, which is fine. If you have seen me create the services sheet earlier, then you can see that I have all the details that your staff might need. If they're gonna add a new service, they can do so over here, and you can change the access rights to make sure that your staff members can see this one sheet. Or if they're generating an invoice from one service in particular, you can do that too. And I hope that answers your question. If you have any additional questions, please let me know. And that's all of them answered over here. Alright, and now I'm going back to the chat box to answer all the questions. So John Sargent is asking how to create the nice header on the Ragic screen, like your example. Alright, so Ragic has this custom banner tool that you can use. it's under Start Account Setup. You can see this if you're the administrator of your account. And if you go to Company Setting over here, it will show you all the additional settings that you can set. So you can actually add your company logo over on the upper left to replace the Ragic logo. You can change the custom banner and set dark or not. So this is saying yes, it's automatically set in my case because it auto detects some of the color here, but if you set it no, then this text would be black instead of white over on the tabs, and these on the top as well. So let me just demonstrate that. Reload. There you go. So you can see the text color has changed and the custom banner is uploaded here. So currently I have this green banner uploaded. I'll actually quickly show that. I think it's in my downloads file. So this is the file that I created for my webinars. So I have a graphic design background and have done this by using some open source material out there. But you can also, download some of the banners that I have created for users. It's over on the knowledge base, so let me find that quickly. So if we go to the Learn Ragic page, let's say banner. There you go, download custom banners. So if you search for banner in the knowledge base, you'll see that in this article I have just added a bunch of images that I made from stock images that were Creative Commons, by the way, or some tiles that you can use for a custom banner. So if I wanted to use this one, just right click on it and save image and then just download it to your computer. They're all open source, so you can use them freely other places as well. So go back to your account setup after downloading to your computer, and from the company settings you can choose the new tile over here and it will wrap. This is gonna be a no. It will wrap across the top over here. See? So yeah, there are a bunch of banners that I made on the knowledge base article over here. You can also create your own banner. I have the recommended size somewhere. Yeah, so I wrote the recommended size over here as well, so you can actually have a look at that and create your own. And yeah, that's it. Alright, next question. Michael, you are working on a database for monthly parking in a commercial office building, so there are multiple individuals per company. Oh, so the parkers are like regulars? Okay, like tenants. Okay. I would like to give a tenant rep the responsibility to update the database as required and would like to have access to their data only. Oh, okay, so there are several companies that park in a commercial office building space that they're sharing, right? And then you just want one person one person per company to represent that and have a look at their data only to, I guess, file expenses, right? Yes, you can give them this type of limited access. I am pretty sure that you don't really need to, have them displayed publicly. Okay, you don't want them to be displayed publicly, and you're gonna give them account settings to. Okay, I think I understand. Alright, let's create a very simple parking sheet. Over here. So let's say it should be linked by company, right? So parking ID, start time, End time. I don't drive, so like please help me because I have no idea how parking works. Okay, well, it all depends on how you want to design this. If you want to design this together, you can give me more details, but let's just create this very simple sheet and say that there's a company. You can actually populate this from some other sheet, but basically when you have an email field, so this changed to an email field when I created it, but when you have an email field here, you can actually set an email ID over here. So it's giving me a warning about access rights, and I'm gonna set it in a bit. Let's see. Let me save this first. So the email ID is essentially you assigning this record entry to that one email person. So you can set the form settings for everyone to survey users, so they won't be able to see anyone else's entries, but they will be able to see their own entries and edit them if necessary. If you don't want them to edit it, you can make this read only, and let's save that too. So essentially this is assigned to whoever I write the email address for. If you want a little slightly more complicated structure and would actually have your people, the representatives that you're assigning, be able to log in and see past records and whatnot, you can actually add them as external users. So in your account setup on the left, you're gonna see there is an external users tab over here right underneath users, and this will require you to describe what you need and how many users you think there will be and send this to us. So Ragic support will see this, and you can have free external users. It's an unlimited number, and well, basically external users have very limited rights to your account, but I think you can use this for your case. So after that, you can use the select user field instead on the parking instead of an email field. So this would change to company representative, and then you can change it to select user, and then set the selected user as entry manager so that they'll actually be able to see. And you can actually control the external user access rights and put them in groups. Sometimes you can actually default it to current user so that that person can create their own entries. It all depends on the structure you want. I hope this answers your question. If not, you can write more. Alright, so again on the user guide we do have more information on external users and other user types that you can have a look at. If you have any questions, we can work through via support if there's something very specific you want to do. Alright, viewer 5, can we build a form with subforms? Yes, you can. I mean, it depends on what type of subforms you mean. If you want to elaborate on that, we can talk, but essentially what I did with the services over here is similar to what you're asking. So sorry for the invoices. So this invoice has a subtable where it's actually pulling data from the service form, and I can like add more things to it as I did. But if you want to create something like a customer sheet where you want to actually let's see, contacts customers. So let's say you had a customer's sheet where you want to have contact records. you can actually create a subtable by doing what I did on the sheet linking tools previously, but on here. So if I had added a contact record ID and added a field right here, ignoring the free text field I just made, saying date and method. Let's say this is auto-generated with a timestamp, contact record. Well, then I don't really need the date, do I? Okay, the method and details. So let's say the method is something that I want to select from a drop-down. That would be the selection field type. And I'm gonna write the phone, email, meeting, maybe web conference. And make this customer ID an auto-generated field as well. Alright, am I going too fast? If I'm going too fast, please let me know. Alright, I'm gonna save this form, and this is essentially what how I can what I do to keep multiple records underneath one record. So if we had John Smith customer, and let's just write a phone number in. So let's say we had a phone conversation and talked about an invoice requested, let's say. So you can have like just different staff members coming in, and you can actually have a field that auto-populates depending on who's entering this row, so that you can keep better track. Alright, let me save these records. So you can see that the contact records are created according to what I just wrote. And if I write more, then there's going to be more space for more records. As you can see, it will expand. So that's basically what a subtable is. If you had wanted to actually search for this or see this data in a more in a better way, you can actually generate another form from this subtable. So we can do that through the change design, again the design mode, and sheet linking tools, and underneath here you'll see that there is new sheet from subtable. So essentially, no matter how many customers I have, this will collect all the contact records rows that I have entered to all the customers. So when I generate this, you can see that it's showing me all the customers' contact records. So if I had another customer called, Sally Smith, and I'm not going to populate those, and meeting met with Sally for product demo. Alright, these will also be saved in the same sheet that I just created over on the contact records. So that's very useful when you want to see everything at once, or if you're generating a report that is based on whatever's in this subtable. I hope that answers your question. Okay, so viewer 10 is saying, can we search on a sheet that has data from two linked tables the same way that we can in the main Ragic search box? Okay, there's the rest of the question. I asked because I have a database very similar to your equipment checkout, but it has a lot of records. So selecting them from the drop down for each new entry would be very time consuming. Well, I mean, you can actually, yeah, I think you mean searching on the link and loads, right? So if we go back to invoices, if I wanted to search through all the services I had for this service ID, you can just click on here and search for the service name or any other field by clicking the arrow next to that field. So the arrow is on the right side of the field, and filter by text. And if I wanted to look at all the letter type services, you can search like that. But I mean, this is a way to generate a filter, or you can type the field you linked from directly again, like this. I think you meant the search box over here on the top. So that is kind of working like a search engine, and we don't really have a way to use that in link and load. Right, that's a very good suggestion though. I mean, we can consider something like that in the future, but we currently don't have anything like that. We can do the filters like I just showed you. Otherwise, I mean, if you want to search for all your sheets for one specific thing, you can do so from your main page. So this is your main page. Whenever you click the logo, it's also ragic.com/your account name. So if you go there and search for anything in your database over here in the search box, it will show you, let's say I was looking for Sally, which is my customer that I just entered, right? And if I look for Sally, it will display all the records that are related to Sally. I mean, that has the keyword Sally underneath here for all the sheets, and it will show you which tab and which sheet it's under. Sorry, sheet and tab. So that's the order, and I hope that's useful. I mean, you can also go to that record directly after searching. A lot of people don't know about this feature, so that's the reason I wanted to display that. And I mean, for looking at linked sheets, we don't really have that in the sense of like using link and load, unfortunately, but that's a very, very good suggestion. I will make sure to forward that. Alright, next question. John Sargent, I would be interested in learning more about the new feature link and load auto repopulation. Thank you. Alright, so link and load auto repopulation is essentially what a lot of users requested. I would not recommend this in most cases, but sometimes it may be useful. So link and load, as we did in the invoices, it's gonna check what the service ID was. So my linked field was the S001, which is the service ID on my other sheet, right? And these other fields are loaded over here from the services sheet. So what you're saying is the new feature, which is auto repopulation. So a lot of times some people may change the service name or the price, and they need it to be populated on each other record. So this doesn't work in my invoices in this case, because even if I change the price now after I have done the service for a year, I mean, if I increase the price and it's 35 cents instead of 30 cents, I don't want to change my older records. So for the older records, it's still going to be 30 cents, but my new records are going to be 30 cents. So you can change the price in the services, and don't worry about like having the new ones show the wrong price, because it's going to be 35 cents on the future invoices you generate. But if I had set the auto repopulation, then it would make all my older all my older records turn into 35 cents, which would be not related to whatever I had previously. So that's not a good case to use auto repopulation. The good case to use that is if you have very solid descriptions of things, for example, like scientific data. For example, I have a customer who does the scientific names in different languages for some medical actions that they do. For example, getting a shot, or, you know, tuberculosis. They have the translation in Spanish and English and some, I think, Portuguese. And then they have to link it to somewhere. Then you can use it. I mean, if you want to keep it updated with the source data, then yes, you can use that in that sense. But in most cases, we don't really need that. If you do need it, you can see it on sheet linking tools. Click the little gear next to your sheet. So this is when you wanted to sync one set of linked fields. If you hover, or you have to focus on that linked field to do this one. So if I wanted to update all my prices, for example, I'm just getting started with this database, I entered one price wrong, I will need to update all the previous invoices, then I would use sync the set of linked fields with updated source value for all records to say, oh, it was 35 cents instead of 30 cents, my bad. And this would sync all of the linked fields if I had multiple. But if you check this keep loaded value sync with source, then Ragic will occasionally crawl through your data and see if it's the correct value. And like my Spanish English dictionary example thing, you would need to kind of have the data consistent with everywhere else. So does that make sense, John? I hope I don't ramble on too much. Let me drink some water and I will get to viewer 5's question in a bit. Alright, viewer 5 is saying how to print or email the invoice or download. Okay, so there are a bunch of methods for all of these. You can either use your browser print, but that's not very cost efficient for your printer, because if I hit Control P, it would actually show me this, which I don't think is useful, because, you know, the browser print shows these buttons as well that are not really useful. So I like to use Ragic's printer friendly version. It's under Tools and Printer Friendly. So if you click that, it will generate this look. That doesn't really include the buttons and whatnot, and it's a very a more cost-effective way of printing your things. And if you print this from your browser, I'm using the shortcut, by the way, but you can go the long way and say File Print. I'm using Control Print, and this is how it looks when you print it. So that's one method. You can save this as a PDF if you want. If you want to email a PDF instead of emailing HTML. If you want to email the record itself, you can go Tools, email this entry under Share, and let me just email this to myself so you can see how it looks like. Okay, so that is sent. Let's go to my email. It should be under my notification box, I think, because I received tons of notifications from Ragic. There you go. So that is my record. So if you just use that email this entry field, it's very useful in most cases. And if your whoever you're emailing to has access to your account, you can they can click on here to go to that entry directly. And then the last one, I think, is downloading. Yeah. Okay, so downloading, that was the method to download as a PDF I just showed. So it's from Printer Friendly. You can download that as a PDF. You can download this as an Excel file under Export here. And then download, and that will show up in an Excel file. Oh, my Excel doesn't really display whatever I clicked on. I don't know why. Where is that? Invoice, there you go. Okay, so this shows up as a bare bones format. There's also a mail merge that you can use that shows it displays your entries in whatever format you have set in a template. So you can create your own Excel template and upload it to the mail merge, and then you can just download it in that format. You meant email invoice as attachment. What kind of attachment are you looking for? We don't really have a quick email as an attachment way, but you can save as PDF or Excel and then email that if you want. PDF attachment. Yeah, the thing is, for PDFs, we tried making a PDF export, but this is very, very, very technical. So as far as I know, it's easier to download as Excel or generate a PDF from Printer Friendly. The reason for this is a PDF generator as a software is not very easy to make for this kind of formatting that we have. So the browser's PDF generation was better than what we did, so we didn't make that the version we had online. So it's better if you just create this a printer friendly version and save it as a PDF from your browser. So I am clicking Control P again, and Microsoft has this Microsoft Print to PDF. Mac has the same thing in another name, and you can just save this as a PDF file and then attach it in your email. But there is no quicker way for that. I'm pretty sure that that's the case. Thank you, Al. Yeah, any other questions? Please keep writing your questions and we'll go through all of them. If you have any design questions, we'll go through them as well. How do we append records to an existing table? Can you please elaborate on that? Okay, so Al is saying he has a sheet that contains a set of equipments. But you might need to add more entries to the sheet later. Okay, sure. So you have a list of equipments and you might need to add new. Okay. And this sheet is linked to another sheet, like our equipment checkout one. Okay, I'm actually gonna download that template while you're writing your question. So okay, for the new users, if you go to start install templates, it will go to this a little bit complicated template store that you can see. We do have a few HR tabs for, you know, performance surveys, attendance and hiring, and also a huge CRM sales system and a huge ERP system that I had to make this flowchart for. But under Office Manager, we do have this equipment checkout, which is very useful when you want to build a system where it's kind of like a library, basically. Alright, I'm going to install that under my sheet. Okay, but what do you mean by appending, Al? Alright, so I have a list of equipments over here. Let me just add a couple. A1, equipment name, I don't know, 3 pound weights. Oh, it's a selection field. Okay, gym, books, office. I don't know. Okay, that's enough. Okay, you would be trying to append. Doesn't append mean, okay, I'm not a native. This might sound surprising, but I'm not a native English speaker. I'm just gonna Google that. I thought append meant like you wanted to not display some. Append means adding something. Okay. Sorry. Thank you, John. Alright, so you want to add more equipment from your Excel sheet. Sure, you can do that. I mean, if you have the ID fields on your import file basically on your import file in the first field, then you won't really have a problem. If you're trying to modify the data, make sure you're having the correct ID number. You know what? Let's just go through the import process once. Let me just add a few equipment types over here. So a 5 pound weights, category gym. So okay, so you're saying that you're trying to import new equipment from a spreadsheet, right? I mean, is there anything else that you're trying to add? No? Okay. Okay, so if you already have your Excel sheet, then you're fine, but I don't, so I'm going to create one. File, new, blah, blah, blank. Okay. So, what I need is, not this, don't save. Okay, what I need is the equipment ID as a field, and equipment name, and category, right? So let's say that I was a little bit, making this differently and had the equipment name as something else like description, but that's actually going to be the name on my database. Okay, this is going to be important. You're saying the fields on structure is not going to vary, but it might in some cases, so I'm going to just change the name of my field here so that will show some mapping. Alright, so equipment ID, let's say I had A4, B3, I don't know, 7, and let's have another thing, C5. Description. Okay, so A's are weights and whatnot. Empty barbell. Category gym. So as you can see, I'm writing this in the right way, the correct way, and if I had wrote a gym with a capital G like this, then it would be a different category. So you have to make sure that your data is clean and has the same formatting as the one in Ragic for it to be easier to classify. Alright, so B3, let's say these are office equipment, and then I don't know, post-it notes, and this is also gym equipment, and I'm gonna call this kettlebell. C5, what other categories did I have? Books. Okay, I'm gonna add a book like How to Be an Awesome Manager. Okay, and let's say this is my import file. I'm gonna save this on my computer. No, not on OneDrive. This PC. Equipment. Doesn't matter what you name it. You can save it as an Excel file or a CSV file. And where is this? In documents. Okay, documents is fine. Save. Okay, now that I just saved that, I thought I did. Okay, it's also called book 1, I think. Okay, so if we go back to our Ragic sheet, let's see. Someone's asking, once data is entered, can it auto trigger an email? Oh, that is a different question. Okay, we'll get to that in a bit. Alright, through the tools menu, if you click import data from file, then you can choose from your documents and choose the file that we just saved, and I'm gonna open that and upload it. So you can see that it's showing that basically my first row needs to be the field headers and the other rows need to be the data underneath my correct field headers. And I'm gonna upload this file, and now it's asking me if the first row is really the header, and if I had like multiple sheets, you can choose from all the sheets in your Excel file. And if you want to reverse the order on your file, because Ragic imports yeah, I think it imports from bottom to top. Anyway, okay, let's say next, and you can see that right now it's asking me to select each field to be mapped to each field in my Ragic sheet. So as I had changed the name, saying it was a description, then Ragic can't really auto detect that it's the same thing. So this is how you map your data. You just click here and then choose equipment name in my case, and the category is my category. Alright, let's click next. And then now it's asking me if I want to create a new record or renew my data. So in my case, this doesn't really matter because all my data is going to be new. The reason I know that is because my key field, which is the equipment ID, is all different. If it was something the same, so if I were importing another A1, I think we had, into from our Excel file, then it would update the rest of the values. So in my case, this doesn't really matter. The renewing is very important when you're updating your data. Alright, I'm clicking next, and let's import. And there it is. So that's how you import data. Alright, and I'll quickly show how to update data, the thing that I just showed about renewing. So if I had modified, oh, where's my Excel? It's gone. Not here on my documents. Okay, so if I had modified a code to be something else, or maybe we lost this book and want to assign this C5 into something else. So to be grades in startups, let's say, and save this. So C5 is another book now, and all these other things are the same. So if I had imported this, did I save that? Okay, I did. Tools, import. I'm gonna go through the same steps again. So if we select this, and description is equipment name, and next, and I'm clicking renew data, and it's gonna check if my book see something. See, this is updated and the others are all the same data. So if I had clicked renew, it would re-import everything, which is not what I want. Alright, I hope that explains it. No problem. And next question, let's see. That's up there somewhere. Having trouble. Oh, there it is. Once data is entered, can it auto trigger an email to the saved customer's email ID? Yes, it can, viewer 5. Alright, so if you have your contact sheet or, you know, invoices that you want to send to your customer when you update it, I mean, it works differently for different types of users. So if you had external users or it was assigned as a user with an email over here, so if, for example, if you had an external user that you can pick from select user over here, and you have them as entry manager. Yeah, so let's say I am selecting a customer over here. They will receive notifications when you modify a record about them or add a new record. So that's automatically done. And right, if you don't really want to add your customers as external users to your account, then if you have a customer email address, over here with a common email field, so if you set the email ID, that essentially emails them when you enter their email over here. And yeah, they should receive an email whenever you edit the entry. If, however, you, let's see your question again. Right, this. Right. If you want to save the data and have it email the whole thing to your customer in a very nice formatted way, then you can use JavaScript to add that. So we do have a template on our knowledge base over here. Learn Ragic. Let me just find that article and send that to you. What was it called? There you go, custom automatic email notification. So you can actually use the field IDs for each field and format it in such a way that whenever you add a new entry, then for example, if you want the system to email them automatically saying, oh, we received your order, like this example, then you can just get the values from certain fields and then just write it in a plain script, and it's basically gonna show you step by step how to do that. So I'm gonna paste this over on your end over here in the chat box, and I hope that helps. Right, so this is the long way to do it. If you want to add your customers as external users, it's shorter, but you know, it doesn't really the email is not as descriptive as you want it to be sometimes, so you can use the JavaScript instead. It depends on really what you require in your company. Alright, any other questions? We have about 20 minutes left. Alright, by the way, the Learn Ragic sheet, it's accessible both by clicking here or here on the upper right. It is very useful. If you don't find anything on our user guide, you can just search for it on the knowledge base. The knowledge base is sourced somewhere else. And it also does show user guide articles, but it shows other knowledge base articles. And there's a bunch of videos that I made here to like have a look at if you want to. Yeah, and the FAQ is also commonly asked questions through our knowledge base. Alright, any other questions so far? Let me just close all these tabs while waiting for you guys. Is there any like particular problem we want to solve? For example, I'm designing XYZ and I would like to add this, but I couldn't figure out how to. I would be happy to demonstrate that as well. Any other questions, everyone? How to search for values in a database? Yeah, that's a very good question actually. One that is a little bit underrated sometimes. So we have three main methods of searching for data. Let's do this in somewhere that has more records. Alright, services. That's better. Okay, so there are three main methods. One is the top search bar over here. Yeah, you can have multiple filters. You can actually use the left sidebar, which can filter through all of your fields in one sheet. So for example, if I were looking for all my customers and let's imagine I had a lot more fields here and I wanted to filter like a customer by city and age and whatnot, then I can use the left sidebar over here. So that is very helpful when you want to have multiple filters. Right, and we do have a bunch of options to do some very, various types of filters. Like we do have ways to write regular expressions to filter out, let's say, all the empty phone numbers over here. I can use filter by text and regex. It signifies that I'm writing a regular expression. Oh, sorry. For empty records, I just click exact match without writing anything and submit, and it will pop up the ones that are empty. If I wanted to search for the ones that have a value, then it would be regex, which is my regular expression dot plus, and that would find me the ones that have a value on that field. So there are a bunch of things that you can use. There are also like wildcard searches that you can use as well. They're all explained in our user guide. I don't really know these off the top of my head either, like all the wildcards. You can go to the user guide and click on searching on in Ragic. There's a list. There's like a huge list. So the top search bar you can actually write or and a combination of things like plus or not minus as Boolean operators. And as I said, the left sidebar search is great if you want to filter for multiple values. So in the example over here, let me open this image larger. There you go. So in this example, it's searching for a pet store merchandise thing and searching for fish items that have the price between $1 and $25. So all the numerical fields and date fields will give you a range. You can, I think, you can also have the option to filter an exact by rating 25, so that would give you exact $25 flat. If you're looking for a date field, it also gives you the option of this week, next week, and whatnot. It has some preset values there. And what else? Like, there are separate things for several types of fields that you can use. And yeah, that's the best way to search in multiple fields at once. If you are looking for something that is very specific, then I would recommend to use the free text search on the headers over here. So right, I'll paste this article so that you can have a look, and I hope that helps. Alright, we also brought filtering and sorting in subtables quite recently, and in the past you can't really filter through subtable values without actually creating a new sheet from it, but now you can use the headers, and it also shows up in your main sheet's left sidebar search tool, so that's very useful too. If, for example, you were looking for something specific in a subtable, you remember the name but don't remember anything else, then you can just search for the name from the left sidebar search tool. Kind of like here in invoices. So if I were looking for a service that was offered, for example the small package, but I don't remember the invoice, then I can say like service name package, and then, you know, create date was sometime this week. Then I can search for all my entries. Of course I only have one entry, but this would filter through all your entries to show the results for multiple fields. Alright, any other questions? Viewer 5, can we get support if we need help while creating your database? Yes, you can. You can email support@ragic.com. I'll write that down. And you can also, yeah, just email us and tell us what you want, or like you are building, what you're building, or, you know, a brief description of what you've done so far and what you would like to add would also help. And we can point you to the right direction. Sometimes a few brief emails are enough. Sometimes if you need some extra help, we do take the time and like get on a web conference with you one-on-one and try building whatever you want together. And well, usually most problems are solved within half an hour, so the service is free. But I mean, if you really need a lot of advanced help on coding and programming, then that would be something up for discussion. We do custom programming for some customers, depending on the case, or if you want to hire your own programmer and work with them, that would be fine as well. Yeah, basically an email conversation is usually enough in most cases. We do know Ragic has a very huge learning curve for some people, and I mean, it does look intuitive because it looks like a spreadsheet, but sometimes it gets confusing with all the linking options, and you know, we do add new things constantly, so our older users can, the users who have been using something for a while can get confused if something new is added and they're trying to design something. So, we're always open to discussion, and you can email us anytime you need help. Alright, any other questions so far? About formatting, about design, about Ragic in general, about us, this formula you were trying to make? Thank you, John. John is saying support is extremely helpful and quick. We have been working with John's company for, I don't know, 2 years maybe or more. And, well, thank you. John is also very good in giving us constructive feedback that we have implemented in our program so far. So thank you and your company for that. I mean, a lot of times we don't realize that customers need, one feature or another, because a lot of people are trying to design something very, very different from other cases. So we do know that all companies don't have a standard way of doing things that would fit. This is the reason why we created Ragic. It's really hard to fit everyone in one single type of category, because everyone's business is so different and they might need their own custom things. I want to take control instead of like using some other tool where they have to accommodate a lot of things, which is not usually the good case of doing things. For example, if I were a company in the UK, I wouldn't want to keep my currency in dollars. So like small customizable things, I mean, if you always give us feedback regarding, oh, I need this feature because I really needed this custom thing, then we can consider adding that. Because like even changing the formatting of your currency to, another yen or dollar or euro, you can do that from here, from the formatting. So simple things are usually what makes or breaks your system. Any other questions? I'm really surprised. Like, I've done this this is the second time I've been doing this webinar, and it is surprising to see how people stay from the beginning to the end. If you have any like suggestions on, because this is only the second time I'm doing this, so I'm really open to suggestions. I previously started doing webinars like I think last year, and have been doing like contact records on very simple subjects, but now I think that this is very useful for a lot of people, because some questions don't really fit in, when I'm presenting something, as opposed to a very long Q&A session, which is what we're doing right now. So if you have any suggestions or like feedback on webinars, I'm open to listen to that as well. Next week I'm going to present a webinar about one singular topic. So it's going to be designing a school database. So I'm planning, right now I haven't really figured out the entire itinerary, but I do get a lot of questions from smaller schools that want to like build an internal system for their office, and they want to keep the students' records and also keep their parents' records for the financial information, and then also display the staff members and have each staff member see all their classes and their students and their grades. So that's gonna be a little bit of challenge for me, because I mean every school is different, but I'm gonna try to make something that's useful for all schools to start with. And the next week after that, I'm gonna present a real estate database. So that's gonna be challenging too, because right now it's the real estate season in North America at least, and it's kind of quieting down, but the summer is usually when people do the sales, and a lot of real estate agencies come up and ask me if we have a template or not, but we do not at the moment. So I hope that would be useful to create, listings and prices, and a lot of times they need a gallery of properties and their pictures, so that should be helpful. Yeah, I need to study. So, a lot of times businesses are really different from one another and may need custom things. So if you do really realize that you're trying to do something but can't really accomplish it with Ragic, please do not hesitate to contact us, because we sometimes don't know your industry. Not sometimes, most of the time we don't know your industry, and we would really like to help. For example, okay, I guess this is time for the last example, as we don't have any more questions, but my last example would be, I have a customer who has a jewelry shop, and they have this code. It's very funny. So for prices, they can go down a certain amount, but of course to make a profit they want to have a limit to that. So there's a kind of minimum amount of the minimum pricing that they can sell something, and they want to rate that, but they don't want the customer to see it when they pull up that data. So when they pull up that form, they usually have an internal code saying that, let's say number 5 would be T, the letter T. Okay, so if it was $55.5, that limit, they would write TTTT, right? So that makes sense, because there are only like 10 numbers, and you can just use 10 random letters, and the customer wouldn't understand that. And they usually had this formula on Excel that they were using for this, but we didn't support that. So they reached out and said, oh, we might need this, and would you support that? And yeah, it's on our list right now. So there are a lot of formulas that we don't support, of course, but if you tell us your use case and make us know about it, then we are most likely to work on it in a future date. So our developers are really open to improvements all the time. And please, again, if you want to ask me anything, or anyone on our team anything, we all see the messages. Please go to support@ragic.com and ask anything. Alright, so that's all the time we had today. Again, if you have any questions or feedback, you can write to support@ragic.com saying attention Baron or hi Baron. I'll see your message, they'll assign it to me. I mean, we're a small team, but we all see all the messages when we can. So if you write to me directly from that email address, I will reply. If you write to baron@ragic.com, you can also do that, but I will reply less often. So if you write to support, I'll see it immediately. Alright, I hope I have helped you today. Thank you all for joining, and it's amazing how many people have stuck till the end, and hope to talk to you all soon.